We're going to take the Bellhopper 372 for a run today. He built this cell, and the compression is, after 2 years of running and breaking in, it's finally gotten high enough that we're starting to see some preignition. So let's dive into that. This is basically the calm before the storm. I've been off work all week, just, kind of doing some stuff around the house, cleaning, getting ready for the event and stuff. But I took some saws out yesterday and was using them, tested on them, checking their chains and everything. But I noticed I'm having an issue with the 372 that Bellhopper built me. So we're going to do a compression test on it. Are you going to say hi, Levi?
Yeah. Hi.
But the phone's sitting on a picnic table, and Levi's up here. That's why the phone's bouncing. But we're going to do a compression test on that. But before we do so, let me just kind of show you around real fast. Show you some of the stuff I've got done this week. I got the camper set up for whoever's staying in it. I believe Bellhopper's going to be staying in the camper. I think Johnny Arnett's going to stay in the camper. The tractor's here and ready to go. And here we're going to the shop, and we're going to show you kind of a couple of things I've done here. Just a quick, we got a trash can, a little table here. I think we're going to be setting up like a food cooking area right here. So, just kind of like right here so people can want to walk up, you know what I mean? Have like a little table here with food and stuff. But I didn't get to this wall. This wall here is a train wreck. I'm not that concerned because absolutely everything over there needs to come down to put the Celtex up. So I really didn't get too worried about cleaning it up. Got the bench cleaned up a bit. So, I'm pretty happy there. It was a train wreck too. So I got it done. I got the picnic table in the building, so we're good to go there. I put a TV there. We're working on the Wi-Fi out here, and we're having issues. It looks like there's a short in the wire that runs from here to the house. So Joey's coming. We're going to see if we can figure it out. I have a feeling one of the ends, because as I wheel the wire, it kind of comes in and out. And when it's screwing up, it just ruins all my internet in the house and everything. All I got to do is unplug the wire and it goes back to normal. So, you know what I mean? Definitely going to have some work there for Joey. See if we can get our internet fixed for the weekend. Now, I want to say a special thanks to Novice Lumberjack. He stocked up our fridge. We got some more sitting over here. So yeah, he took care of stocking our fridge up and making sure we got some refreshments. Got some stuff in the freezer too. Meatballs. I'm doing the meatballs. Some other guys are bringing food, but I'm doing meatballs for Saturday. I guess I can show you out here at the wood pile, huh? You can see here we got logs lined up. There's our 2 racing stations. There's a big one over there. Probably just leave that big one or that set up there for big logs. And then we got all this stuff. These 2 logs are junk. It's cherry, it's half rotten. So I'm really hoping those things disappear over the weekend. They're the 2 worst logs that I have. So I put them out first to try to make sure they disappear. Now, all the cookies we create during this event here, I'm actually planning on saving them. We're gonna load them up in the bucket of the tractor, then just toss them all into my trailer, which is sitting way down yonder there. But I'm planning on putting all the cookies in the trailer, and then in winter time, I'll just pull the trailer into the shop and, I'll just burn the cookies through the winter. And as you can see, I was out here, I made some cuts, just testing on chain and stuff. Most of what you see down here is maple and oak, but there might be an occasional log of some sort, you know what I mean? But this is it. We're getting ready, and I think we have enough wood to get through the whole weekend and probably have some extra. So we'll see how she goes. Now, I made some new stands. I don't prefer this style. I prefer to have it like a 2 or 3 foot long log laying on its side. because you don't end up with two pieces. You know what I mean? It's just the way I prefer to do it. But I had to do what I had to do to make my stands. We'll save them for future. But if you're ever looking to make these, make sure you cut your V from all the way out and down. That gives you a much wider variety for different sizes of logs that you can fit on it. I kind of learned that lesson the hard way. You know what I mean? Always make sure you start from the edge and go in. You end up with a much better situation in the end. I started these out at about 2 foot. They were about 2 foot chunks. Then I noodled them in half. Then I cut the big V in it. Now, if you look at this one, you see how I didn't go all the way to the edge, and I made it, you know, it's a shorter one. So I'm kind of limited on the size of log I can put on that one compared to these other ones that I made. These are better. So, little pointer there if you're ever looking to make these. Now, if you have to move your stands around by hand, this is the best way to do it. Now, if you have a machine to move them around, you know, you can make them bigger, make it a little easier. You know what I mean? But what you do if they're set up like this, let me explain this. So you see this one? Oh, wait, I got a phone call coming in. Let me answer this. All right, that's handled. The porta potty apparently is coming today. It was supposed to come tomorrow for the event, so it's coming today. And they were calling and just making sure I was here that they could bring it a day early, you know. But back on to this. So most people don't know how to cut wood when you're set up like this. So what you do is you work your way in from the end. Then whenever you get to the point that you want to slice this in half. So whenever you think you got your weights even, you slice that thing in half, and then you keep whittling in until all you have left is that piece in the middle. That's how you cut your cookies off of stands like this. You just keep whittling in from the end. Then whenever you get to a point where you think you can just slice it in half, then you can whittle in from each side, and that takes you all the way pretty much. Most people cut from the end all the way up, cut from the end all the way in, and then you have this big log in the middle that you got to scooch things around and deal with all that. It's actually easier if you just wait until you're nice and even, to where if you slice that in half, you can work it from both ends and it's all done. So, yeah, that's the easy way to do it. Most people don't have enough experience with that to, you know, to deal with it like that, but that's the easy way that I find. And it don't work for the bigger stuff. So this bigger log here, it is probably 22, I think it's 22 roughly on the small side, 20, pushing 24 on the other side, but it won't work for this one. It's just too big and too top heavy. So if you try to cut that down the middle, you lose all your stability. So that doesn't work for the big ones. You have to do it the hard way with the big ones. But for these smaller logs, yeah, that's the easy way to do it. This is a racing setup. As you can see, we're just gonna be cutting on whatever we got laying here. It's just for fun, really. You get to choose how you run your race and challenge whoever you want. And you just kind of work your way in the log. Now, if you have a spot where you got a knot, just whack the knot off and then have your race. You know what I mean? Or cut a few cookies through the knot, I don't care. Just, you know, we're not gonna be that anal about it, you know what I mean? We got some more wood there we can pick from. These are just the first two that I threw up, and those are the ones we'll be starting our races with. So I think some folks are gonna enjoy this weekend. I think we're set up, we're good to go, and we're gonna have lots of fun. Now back onto this 372, I need to do a compression test on it. It's not like there's something wrong with it. I mean, it runs good. It almost runs too good. And what I'm experiencing is pre-ignition. It's got pre-ignition happening. I'm running gas in it, just normal gas. I've tried Red Armor and Super Technic Plate, both, and it doesn't matter what I do. It gets pre-ignition. If I richen up the tune, I can kind of get it to tame down, but then I'm so rich that I lose a whole lot of performance. I'm suspicious the saw has a little too much compression for gas. So this might be a good way for us to find out. Now I'm also seeing that I'm running a number 7 plug. It's an NGK number 7. We'll swap that out to a number 8 right now. That might actually be our issue right there. If you look at how chocolatey the plug is, I mean, it's not lean. You know what I mean? She's pretty chocolatey. Let's check our compression here. There's a chance that that plug is actually my issue. It's just too hot of a plug. We'll take it to a number 8 and cool her down some. And it might actually clean up. But before we do all that, let's get a compression test. I can tell you right now, this thing has a decent amount of compression. You can definitely feel it when you pull it. I already broke the starter once, so just keep that in mind. This is the second starter for this saw. So, yeah, it's high. Can you focus? It is over 240. I'm going to say it's bleeding off. I don't have a perfect seal here. Stopped at about 245. So 245 pounds of compression. That probably explains why we're getting pre-ignition. So 245 pounds of compression. That would probably explain why we're seeing some pre-ignition. Gasoline, once you get so high in the compression, it will give you a pre-ignition issue. Now, as far as saying gasoline or running too much compression on gasoline will slow you down, I have yet to actually experience that. As far as slowing it down strictly through the compression, it's usually the machine work and the port work that it comes along with. Building that much compression is what's slowing it down more so than the actual compression itself. So, I don't know. I think sometimes there might be a little confusion there on what's actually slowing you down. I wouldn't say it's the compression of the saw as much as the port work and the machine work that goes into it to create that compression. Because I have not yet been in a situation where high compression actually slowed it down. This 372 is a screaming demon. And you can see where the number is at. So my plan here is to build another one. This is the one I'm running at Sawfest for the Clone Wars. And over the last year here, it finally broke in. I mean, it didn't just break in, like it really broke in. And you can see where the compression went to. It was sitting at about 200 pound of compression whenever I first received it. And over the past 2 years, it really pumped up the compression a lot. We're probably sitting at, I don't know, 5 gallons or so of gas through this saw. So if you're building a saw that comes up at 200 pound of compression right after you build it or whatever, chances are it's going to pump up a decent amount. You never know. It's hard to know that right off the bat, you know what I mean? But let me go ahead and throw another plug in this real fast. This is an NGK, it's a number 8, which is colder. It's the BPM 8. A little colder plug might help with the pre-ignition issues. I will tell you though, the way this is running and stuff, this is kind of like a new development with this saw. For the longest time, this was my go-to firewood saw, but because of the pre-ignition issues that came from, building so much compression over all these years of running it, I would say it's no longer going to be my primary firewood saw. It's just too hot. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to switch it to a methanol build. Methanol prefers more compression. Now we're gonna take this thing out real quick, make 1 or 2 cookies. We'll see if the pre-ignition comes back, but it may not. 1 or 2 cookies may not be enough to get it to reveal itself. You got to put some heat to it, you know what I mean? Like in a firewood situation to where it starts, typically until you start noticing it. So we may not notice it here today, but as time goes on, I'll keep you updated. Now, as far as fuel is concerned, there's basically different types of fuel. You get your regular gas, which you can go higher octane. The octane I'm running is just the cheap 89 octane or whatever in this saw. There's, you can go to a higher octane, which might clean up the ignition issues. But I don't want to buy higher octane fuel just for one saw. So I will probably convert this to run on methanol. Methanol prefers higher compression numbers. Now, methanol, it likes higher compression numbers. It's like running a higher octane fuel, you know what I mean? High compression means a higher octane fuel, then that's kind of like what methanol does. Now, let's say you're doing it on a lower compression style build. Then you're looking at nitromethane. So I don't typically keep nitromethane on hand. I don't have any here right now, but it's better for your lower compression stuff. That's your top fuel guys. Like say you're looking at, let's look at the racing world. You have guys who run, gasoline and stuff, but those aren't, your high performance cars or nothing like that. So most of the guys who are like let's say sprint cars and so forth, those guys are typically running methanol. It runs a little cooler. It gives you more torque, which I think a lot of people think methanol is like this magic, or these other fuels are like this magic potion. I mean, methanol it increases torque. You're capable of burning more fuel. It increases your torque. It doesn't really gain a whole lot in RPM. You gain it in the torque, which makes it easier to maintain your cut at higher RPM. Kind of the same thing with nitromethane. But the nitromethane in the racing world, that's your top fuel, like dragsters and stuff. Those are the ones that are meant to go from 0 to 400 mile an hour in 3 seconds. You know what I mean? That's your nitromethane world. Typically don't run as high compression and so forth. Me, for saws, I prefer to go with either gasoline or methanol. The nitro is like strictly for cookies. 1, 2, 3, done. You never run it ever for anything else. You start it, you make 3 cooks, done. That's not me. So you'll typically see me do gas and methanol and not do the nitro stuff. I'm happy with those two. I'm not really looking. Jakey's up on the picnic table making the camera bounce. But yeah, I'm just not a nitro guy. It's not my type of thing. It takes a lot more modifications. You have to modify to get enough fuel for methanol, but going to nitro is even more modifications because it consumes even more than methanol. So, it's one of those things. It's not typically for me, but methanol or the nitromethane does prefer a lower compression than what methanol would or whatever. And this saw here, I do think we're going to end up taking it to methanol. I'd still run it on firewood. I would still run this saw on firewood even though it was running on methanol. It's just, it's a higher compression build, and, methanol seems to prefer higher compression numbers, so that's probably what we're going to do with this saw. But I'm not going to do that until I get another one of these that I can build and be able to race at the Clone Wars in, legally, really, be able to run it on gasoline and stuff. So I'm going to wait to do that conversion until after that. So that's where we're at. What do you say we just go out and give this thing 1 or 2 cookies, and you'll see this all rips. So yeah, let's just go make 1 or 2 cookies here real fast. Now I do have a compression release on this. It helps, but it's not a cure-all for the high compression, you know what I mean? Yeah, I got what I needed out of that one cut. You got a tack on it. So the higher part of the RPM spectrum was sitting almost exactly 13,000 RPM. She free revved at 13,940 RPM. That was the free rev. It locked dead on to 13,940. But in the cut, the high side, when it wasn't under so much load, it was running almost exactly 13,000 RPM. As I started putting load on it, it just kind of depended on how much load. I'd say the sweet spot was probably around 12.8 to 12.5. It was fluctuating in between those two. So, you know what I mean? Under a decent load, you know what I mean? Under the dogs, it was at 12.5, and I could pull it down to like 12.3 or less, but that was a half decent load, running at 12.5, and you know, I'm pretty happy with this saw. I think the chain needs a touch up. I don't think I checked this chain. Yeah, I can see it's not perfect, but it is what it is. So there you go. I was cutting with it yesterday. That's the saw I ran to make all these noodles and stuff, and I definitely need to check that chain. But there you go, a little sneak peek on my Clone 372. So Bellhopper built it, and it runs fantastic, and you know, a little something about compression and fuels and stuff. Don't think compression is the end of the world. It just, when you start getting into pre-ignition, yeah, you might need to go higher octanes and so forth. But I've never been in a situation where I thought I had so much compression that I was losing performance. It's typically the port work involved or the machine work that was involved that slowed me down, not the compression by itself. Does that make sense? So yeah, hey, a little quick video there, a little sneak peek on the Hopper 372 and what it actually runs like. But getting ready for the event. The first guys are showing up today, and a big chunk are showing up tomorrow, and so forth. So yeah, things are about to happen. I got a porta potty coming in like an hour, so I better get ready, right? Alrighty, so catch you in the next one. Later.